I don't serve troublemakers in uniform, the waitress snapped, her voice cold and sharp as a blade. She leaned forward, pointing directly in Lieutenant Aisha Khan's face. The buzz of conversation in the small 1950s-style diner in El Dorado, Arkansas, died instantly. Every fork stopped midair, every head turned toward the booth by the window where Aisha sat calm and still in her crisp army fatigues. Aisha didn't move. She didn't blink. Her hands remained folded on the table, her posture as straight and composed as it had been during countless deployments. "Mom," she said, her voice even controlled. "I'm here for a coffee and a sandwich, nothing more." But the waitress's expression only hardened. "You're here to cause problems," she retorted. "I've seen your type before. People like you think the world owes you something." There was no mistaking her tone, no misunderstanding the line she just crossed. It wasn't just about the uniform. It was about the woman wearing it. "I served 2 tours overseas," Aisha replied softly. "I didn't come back home to be treated like a threat in my own country." But the waitress wasn't interested in hearing anything else. She spun around, yanked the corded landline from the wall, and dialed 911. "What's your emergency?" came the voice on the other end. The waitress didn't miss a beat. "We've got a military woman here, black female, refusing to leave. She's being aggressive, threatening staff. In uniform, looks unstable." The accusation hung heavy in the air. From a corner booth, a teenage boy stood up. "That's not true," he called out. "She hasn't done anything." "Sit down, son," the waitress barked, glaring at him. But more phones were coming out. More people were recording. More eyes were watching as Aisha remained perfectly still, her composure unshaken, her dignity undisturbed. 10 minutes later, the bell above the door jingled as 2 officers walked in. The first to enter froze when he saw the soldier at the booth. "Lieutenant Khan," he said, stunned. "Is that really you?" Aisha looked up, a soft smile touching her lips. "Hey, Omar." Officer Omar Hassan, stunned, lowered his radio. They'd served together in Syria. He'd been military police. She was communications and logistics, until the day she'd crossed a minefield to drag 2 wounded soldiers to safety. "You saved my life," Hassan said to the room. "This woman called in a medevac after our convoy got hit. She carried 2 men across open ground under fire." Aisha gave a small shrug. "We all did our job." The waitress stepped back, her face turning pale. You know her?" The second officer approached the counter, holding up his tablet. "Ma'am, we reviewed the security footage. There was no disturbance, no aggression, no threat. What you reported was false and racially charged. You made a false police report." Officer Hassan added, "That's a violation under Arkansas law. Misuse of emergency services." The room was dead silent. All eyes turned to the woman who had just tried to paint a hero as a criminal. Meanwhile, Aisha finished her meal. A patron quietly walked over and paid for her coffee. The waitress didn't return to the table. She didn't say another word. By the evening, the footage was everywhere: TikTok, Twitter, local news, then national headlines. But what went viral wasn't the confrontation. It was the calm, the dignity, the strength of a soldier who didn't flinch when falsely accused, who didn't lash out when disrespected, who simply stayed seated. A week later, Aisha stood on the steps of the American Legion Hall. Veterans, students, reporters, everyone had come to hear her speak. "I didn't go viral because I was brave," she said into the microphone. "I went viral because someone decided my uniform, my skin, and my silence made me dangerous. But let me be clear, silence is not weakness, it's discipline, and sometimes it's the loudest thing in the room." Applause echoed across the block. The diner issued a formal apology. The waitress never returned, and a month later, a mural went up on the side of the building. A painting of Aisha in uniform, calm and unbroken. Beneath the words, she served, she stood, she stayed. So injustice doesn't always shout. Sometimes it points. But courage never has to yell. It just refuses to leave. Have you ever seen someone misjudged because of how they looked or what they wore? What does real strength look like when no one else is watching? Let us know in the comments. Before we end this story, tell us in the comments where you're watching from and if this story moved you. Like, subscribe, and drop it to honor every hero who stands tall by staying seated.